about forgiveness and how we can forgive others, I've been thinking of something. It has lots of numbers. It can help me do math like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. It's usually rectangular shape. Lots of people have one on their phones. That's right, a calculator. It can add and multiply big numbers, way bigger than what we could think of and keep track of in our heads. As high as the numbers on a calculator can go, they cannot go as high as the number of times God forgives us. God forgives us for every wrong thing we do. And when we remember that God forgives us more times than what we could ever count, it can help us remember to have no limit on how many times we forgive other people. Even the highest number on the calculator, as teeny tiny compared to the amount of times God forgives us. His forgiveness never ends. Today, we are going to learn about forgiving others. When we're wondering if we need to forgive someone else, we can remember how much God has forgiven us. So, let's check out what our story from the book of Matthew has to teach us about forgiving others.
Hey, what's up? I'm Nick. Guess what? I just won my first skateboarding competition. I've been practicing for months and months. I'm so excited that I won. You know, looking at this medal reminds me of how far I come since I started skating. Also, I beat my arch nemesis, Rodney. Well, he's not really my arch nemesis, but he always wins and then makes fun of me about it after. Now that I won, I want to do the same thing to him. Now, I know I probably shouldn't do that, but he's so unkind to me. Do I have to forgive him, even if I don't like him? When I have questions like this, I look in the Bible. The Bible is God's true message to us about himself. In the book of Matthew, Jesus taught his closest friends how to forgive other people. Let's see what he had to say about forgiveness.
Jesus taught about forgiveness. Peter, one of Jesus' disciples, asked Jesus, "Lord, how many times do I need to forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? As many as 7 times?" Jesus told Peter, not just 7 times, but 70 times 7. Jesus went on to tell a story. The kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to get back all the money he was owed by his servants. There was one servant who owed 10,000 talents, which was a lot of money. Since the servant didn't have the money, the king ordered that he, his wife, his children, and everything he owned be sold to pay back some of what he owed. The servant fell face down before the king, saying, "Be patient with me, and I will pay you back." The king had compassion for the servant, let him go, and told him that he wouldn't have to pay back any of the money.
Check it. The servant owed so much money, it would have been pretty much impossible to try and pay it back. But the king switched it up and didn't make the servant pay back all the money he owed. Instead, he forgave the servant and didn't make him pay back any of it. Let's see what happened next.
That same servant went and found another servant who owed him 100 denarii. It was nothing compared to the giant amount of money the first servant owed. The first servant grabbed the other man and demanded that he pay him back. The second servant fell on his face and begged him, "Be patient with me, and I will pay you back." But the first servant refused. He had the other man thrown in jail until he could pay back what he owed. When some other servants saw what happened, they went and told the king. The king called the first servant and said, "You wicked servant, I forgave you all the money you owed. Shouldn't you have mercy and forgive your fellow servant the same way I forgave you?" The king was so angry, he had the first servant thrown in jail. Jesus finished his story by saying, "This is what God will do, unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart."
Well, I wasn't expecting that. I thought the servant in Jesus' story would do the right thing and forgive the other servant. But he was so unkind. The king threw the servant in jail. Jesus told this story so we can know how to forgive others. Peter asked Jesus just how many times we were supposed to forgive. But the answer Jesus gave wasn't what he was expecting. Jesus said that we should forgive not just 7 times, but 70 times 7. Jesus wasn't saying we have to forgive people a certain number of times, but that we should always forgive others. We have all chosen to do things that we think are best instead of what God says is best. That's called sin. And our sin breaks our relationship with God. And like the servant in the story, there is no way that we can pay our debt of sin. We can't do this with the help of other people either. We all need to be forgiven by God. The best part is God switched it up and is ready to forgive us. God sent his son Jesus so that we can be forgiven. When we believe in Jesus and ask God to forgive us, he does. Because we have been forgiven so much, we can show other people forgiveness too. Okay. I think I get it. Even though Rodney was unkind, I should switch it up and forgive him for those times he hurt my feelings. I've been forgiven by God, and I should show that same forgiveness to Rodney. All right. Later, skater.
When Peter asked Jesus how many times he should forgive someone, Jesus didn't answer with a number, but with a story. He helped Peter and everyone else know there isn't a number to forgiveness. When we remember God has forgiven us so much, it can help us to remember to forgive others. Say, I can forgive others. Let's take a moment to pray by talking to God. Pray with me in 3, 2, 1. God, thank you for loving us so much. You sent your son Jesus to take the punishment for our sin and to make a way for us to be forgiven. Help us to always remember how much you have forgiven us and let us help us to forgive others. Thank you for loving us. Amen. I'm so glad you were here today, and I can't wait to see you next time.